Hi, welcome back. Today's going to be our first real lecture. There's a couple things that I want you to do so we can get started. First, go ahead and download Sublime Text 3 or whatever text editor you want to use. It's free-ish, meaning it's free, but eventually they want you to buy it. But for our purposes, it's free. It looks something like this, very simple. There's a lot of other really neat text editors out there these days. Another popular one is Visual Studio Code. It looks something like this. It's also free. It's owned by Microsoft, but it's actually one of their better tools. There's also Atom. There's a lot out there, but I'm personally going to use Sublime Text to demo all of our during the lecture. So if you just if you prefer that everything is the same, then go ahead and use it. I just personally love Sublime Text because it's just so easy. We'll see in a bit, but it's just so easy. Visual Studio Code is great when you start working on bigger projects and you want to run like some tools and stuff. But Visual Studio Code is more of an IDE, and Sublime Text is more of just a simple text editor. So for our purposes, we really don't need to go and use an IDE, at least not at this level. So I just prefer Sublime Text. But, really up to you, whatever you want to use. You can technically use Eclipse as well, but why use that thing, right? So let's go ahead and choose whichever one you'd like. Go ahead and download it and let it run in the background. For your assignment, which you will have, you're going to also need one more software. It's called FileZilla. I'll send out an email about or a Piazza post about it. So that's another thing I've downloaded eventually. But all the things that we do use here are free, so you don't have to pay extra for any of these software that you see. In this class, we'll also do attendance as well. And how I do attendance is on Blackboard. It's this thing called Quickly Attendance or something. So for my page, you're going to see this number. But for you, if you go ahead and click on Tools and click on Quickly Attendance under Blackboard, you should be prompted to type in some kind of code. The code is 4926. And let's get in the habit of doing this every time you come into 303. Just open up your Blackboard and get ready to type in a code. And I'm always going to write the code on the whiteboard. So if you came in a little bit late and you didn't see it in the beginning, just look for it on the whiteboard. So I'm going to have it. Luckily, this room has a nice big blackboard, so I'll just write it really big somewhere on the blackboard. So those are two things you want to get. Let's get you started there. Next, the class website. So as you can see, if you scroll down here, you can see that I added another row under course outline, right? So this is today. Today's August 29th. This is a lecture, and this is the assignment that you have. So there's no lab this week because it's a shorter week. And this assignment is going to be due on Monday at 11:59 p.m. This assignment is definitely is going to be a lot one of the more easier assignments for sure, just because it is the first assignment, and also we're going to start from scratch, right? So this is a very starting from scratch kind of site. So you're going to be creating something like this. It's kind of hard to see here. Maybe I can open it here. I'm going to create something like this where, actually I have a better one. Okay, you're going to be creating something like this where, again, very simple one page here, where you're going to choose a movie that impacted your life, or whatever that means to you. You're going to write a summary about it, and then you're going to write, or the summary you can grab from IMDb or Wikipedia or wherever, and then you're going to write 5 things that you learned from that movie, whatever that may mean to you as well. All right, so there's samples here, but ultimately today we're really going to just, we're going to start small. We're going to, fundamentals, like I said, is very important to me as well as the industry. So we're going to start small because I really want you to nail down HTML and CSS. So we're going to start small. We're going to do something like this for your assignment. And part of the assignment is also getting your server set up, which is also here as well. So there's some few steps that you need to do. But we'll hopefully, if the lecture goes as planned, we'll have time at the end for me to help you out with a lot of this stuff. So let's get started. All right, so that's the assignment. And if you click on today's lecture notes right here, it says Intro to HTML CSS Box Model. These are some to-dos for today's class. Like I kind of mentioned Sublime Text already. FileZilla, you don't have to download this right now because we're not going to be actually using it in class, but you will actually use it. You will need FileZilla for your assignment. And then we're going to be using some text, so there's that. There's some readings that later on, if you want to kind of review what we talked about today, because I do have slides here, but like I kind of mentioned, my slides are honestly a little useless. They're more for just to introduce you to the topic. They're not, some professors, their slides are like a textbook, right? They put all the text in there. I don't do that. So if you want to read some extra material, I'll give you some extra reading material. And the slides are just going to be, I'll just show you right now. Slides are very simple. This is just to help me guide kind of the intro topic. It's to help me to introduce the topic of the day. And where am I? And then some more references, and then any code that we write together, it's always going to be under completed files. It'll come up when I try to upload it by the night of the lecture. And then there's also I am recording this lecture, so you can always look back. So a lot of ways. I know that code when you're learning a new language for the first time, honestly, it's just the best way to learn it is just to keep doing it and to keep reviewing it. So that's why I give a lot of opportunities for you to review and review. Some people like watching the recordings over again, like they put me on like 3x speed or something, and then, just to review the material. Some people just simply like reviewing the code again, right? So I'm gonna have all my code here. Some people like reading like actual articles. So whatever works for you, I'm giving you a lot of options here. Whatever works best for you to review material, it's all gonna be organized in per lecture like this, right? So this is lecture 2. All right, so that's so let's get started. So every week you're going to see a new line, every lecture you're going to see a new row show up on here, and this is kind of where all your key course material is going to be. Any questions about that? All right, let's get started. I do want to get a lot started and try to get most of this done so that we have some time at the end for you to get set up and get started on your first assignment. And don't forget, we have Jonah here in the back. He has the black cap. So while we're doing this together, anytime you get stuck, don't be shy, okay? Just kind of go like this, and Jonah will come and help you. He's going to be looking out for you, right? Okay, so go ahead and download Sublime Text or whatever you're using. Anybody still working on this, getting this downloaded? Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds. Before we do that, let's set up a space for us to work in real quick, okay? We're going to be over the next 15 weeks, we're going to be creating a lot of files together, as you can imagine. And we're going to end up having at least 20 files. So that's going to be a lot. So I'm going to try to plan ahead here. So what I like to do, and this has been working pretty well for all of my classes, is I'm going to create a folder, and in this folder is going to be all my ITP 303 things, all my files here, okay, just to keep it simple. So I like to do it on the desktop. Honestly, you could do this wherever you'd like, but if you just want to follow me, on my desktop, I like to create a folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a folder and call it ITP 303. Okay, and because I have 2 sections of this class, I'll go ahead and name it ITP 303 AM just for my sake. So I like to do this on the desktop. So this is a Mac, but Mac has the concept of desktop as well. You could also do that and then create a folder here, you can do the finger swiping thing. And then I can't get it back, of course. So now let's see. Oh, no. Come on. Okay, there you go. Where is it? Okay, so, or on your Windows computer, you go to Files Explorer, go to Desktop, and you can create a folder here. Real quick about Mac, just because some people have just not as familiar with Mac. Mac, on the top here, there's different ways you can display your files. You can do it by like this, or like a grid, or it's actually not quite showing up very well. But I like to do this one right here just because it's really easy for me to navigate all my folders really quickly. So if this looks different for you, it's only because of this here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and create some kind of folder somewhere. I like to do it in desktop just because desktop is always easy to get to, but you could do it anywhere really. You could put it in, maybe not in your downloads folder, but maybe if you have a documents folder or somewhere. Anywhere you want to do it, go ahead and create a folder there. So I'm going to I create a folder there. Okay, so in this folder, I'm going to be adding all my lecture files in here just to keep my life a little bit easier. Okay, all right, and then in my Sublime, I go ahead and open up Sublime. Let's simply create a file, new file. Okay, or if you're a keyboard kind of person, you can always do Command N, and you can create a lot of these. And notice how, and this is similar across text editors, that every time I create a new file, you're going to see like a new tab open up. And let's go ahead and save this file. And I'm not going to write anything in here yet. Okay, I'm just going to just simply save it because just so I have it saved. And then I'm going to go back to my desktop, go into that folder that I just created, and I'm going to just call this, today is our first page, so let's just call it like first page. And this is important, make sure you put .html because we want to specify that we are creating an HTML file. We're not creating, you know, a JavaScript file. We're not creating a Java file. We want to be specific here. So I'm going to go ahead and create the first page.html. I'm going to save it. I have nothing in here so far, but that's okay. Okay, and then just why not? Let's go ahead and just put hello world real quick. No, I put nothing else. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you can see a little better here. Okay, but go ahead and save this as well. Okay. All right, let's now so we have an HTML file. Let's go ahead and open this file in our browser. To open this file, there's a lot. You can always open up your browser, Chrome or Safari or whatever you like. I like to use Chrome, and you can simply do File, Open like this, Open File, and then you go to that location, right? Desktop, ITP 303, and there you go. There's my first HTML. Oh, there's my hello world. Wow, I feel so accomplished, right? Okay, and notice how up here it says like file. This path up here is the path of where my file is living. A quicker way I found, over time there's quicker ways things get developed. You could also right click and just do open in browser, and that also works as well. Okay, let's try that out real quick. Okay, we didn't really do anything, we just typed. Like we were just right so far, it's just like you're writing like a Google Doc or something, right? We're just, or a Word doc, we're just writing some text out right now and we're just seeing it show up on the browser. Couple things I want to point out here. Again, if this is not quite working for you, go ahead and right click and click on open in browser. Okay. So this is the great thing about HTML is I don't have to run it through some kind of compiler or anything. HTML files are read by the browser. The browser is the one that takes my HTML file, it grabs this code, it reads it, and it does whatever it needs to do. It renders it, and then it renders it nicely on this browser here. So right now, this file is saved on your computer. So only people that have access to your computer can see this. So it's not on the internet just yet, which we'll get there eventually, but this is our first step. Yes?
I don't know why mine's not saved.
Okay. Permission denied. Let's go ahead and save it somewhere else. Save as? Yeah. Save it, click on that. Yeah. Maybe not save it in there. Let's go ahead and go to your desktop. Yeah. So if you save it in the Mac, it's not gonna allow you to save. Yeah. Did that work?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Awesome. I'm going to come back to this in a bit. I want to go over, I just want to talk a little bit about HTML before we go any more into this. All right, so key things we're going to do today, as you can kind of see here, we're going to learn, again, we're starting from completely scratch. I'm assuming you know absolutely nothing. You don't even know W3 schools exist. Okay, so today, for some of you, this might be completely review. For some of you, this is like, you've never heard of this before, but we're all going to start on the same page today, okay? So it's purposely, we're going to take some extra time today to help you really get started in web development. So today we're going to talk about HTML basics and concepts and syntax, right? What does it look like? Specifically, we're going to talk about tags and attributes. So those two keywords are what you want to think, what you want to listen for. tags and attributes. Secondly, we're going to talk about CSS, what that is, like basic concepts, and syntax. Okay, how do we write CSS? Keywords here are property and values. Those are the two main things that you want to make sure you understand. We're going to talk about the div tag, what the heck that is. And we're also going to talk about CSS float. And with these 4 concepts in mind, you will be able to create that movie page that I showed you here. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do today. So I talked about on Tuesday briefly about the front end versus back end, right? Like front end. We're going to be starting on this front end side. So the core thing on the front end is what the user sees, right? The layout, colors, your text, all the content. That is where we're starting with today. So as you can kind of see here, every time your browser requests something from a website, they give you back an HTML file. The server will always give back some kind of HTML file. So when your browser, Chrome or Firefox or whatever, when it receives an HTML file, what it does a lot of things behind the scenes that you don't get to see, and it does it really well. Is it grabs any assets, so any kind of images, videos, it puts it in, it renders that. It runs any other client-side scripts like JavaScript. So your browser is actually doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So for the next 7 weeks, we're really going to be focused on what the browser is doing. So we're going to kind of pretend that the backend does not exist right now. All we're going to be doing for the first 7 weeks is primarily work on this. So we're going to work on getting work on getting things to show up on the website, and then we're going to also do write some JavaScript so that we can make other some more interesting things happen on the browser as well. So we're focusing here today. Just quickly, so what's the difference between HTML and CSS? So today we're really going to focus on HTML and CSS. We're not going to talk about JavaScript just yet. HTML is short for Hypertext Markup Language, but that doesn't really tell you much, right? But the key word here is markup. Okay, what HTML is really good at is it's really good at structuring your page. So this is probably the best analogy I can ever give you. HTML is kind of like the skeleton. It structures your content. So it's like, this is the head, right? This is the body. This is the footer kind of thing. HTML is very good at that. CSS, on the other hand, is short for cascading style sheet. Again, doesn't tell you much, right? The key word here is style, right here, style. It controls the look and feel of the page. So HTML and CSS work well really together. CSS is like the aesthetics part of your web page. So the colors, the size, like anything appearance-wise, CSS is really terrific at. And CSS has developed a lot where with CSS now you could even add animations, make things like kind of like sparkle and bounce and things like that. CSS does so much now. In today's class, we're going to, again, just understand the really fundamentals of HTML and CSS. And there's so much that you can learn even just in HTML and CSS. HTML and CSS sometimes get a bad rep. People say like, oh, it's so easy or blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not a real language, blah, blah, blah. But HTML and CSS have developed so much, and there's so much in it. There's no way I can cover all of HTML and CSS in 2 hours, not even 4 hours really. So what I'm going to show you today is the key, again, concepts and syntax. And I'm also going to give you a lot of different resources and some good resources. And the hope is that after I teach you the basics, you're able to also do a lot of learning on your own outside if you so choose. Okay. All right, so let's go back. All right, let's go back to switching back to our Sublime real fast. One more time. Let me go ahead and do this one more time. So Sublime right now, currently, I have my HTML page open, as you can see, and I saved it in my ITP 303 AM folder right in here. Okay, so that's where it is. Okay. Also, if you hover over that tab, it actually tells you, it actually kind of shows you what, where the file is saved, so you always know. This is very important. It might seem a little like, why do we care so much about this? This is very important because the number one mistake when it comes to web dev is, the files are saved at different places and it's in the wrong folder, and there's a lot of headaches can be caused if you don't have your folders organized well. So these are all pretty important steps. So just make sure you have your ITP 303 AM folder and you have a folder in there. And then if I do open in browser, I'm able to see that hello world here. Beautiful. Alrighty, so let's write some HTML here. Okay, I want to do that there, and then this right over here. Oh, oh, oh. Okay, I know we wrote all this. It was fun. Let's go ahead and delete this. And let's write our very, very first HTML together. All right, go ahead and just type along with me. We're going to be using a lot of symbols, maybe that you may or may not have used before. Oh, and I forgot, Sublime does a lot of autocomplete for you, so this makes it a lot easier for me too. This is way too big. Okay, go ahead and type this out with me for now, and I'll come back and explain what the heck we're doing. Okay, body. Okay, and then let's do one more thing here. We're gonna do doc type. Oops. There you go. There you go. Okay. Notice how Sublime is making things pink for you. It's great. It's a little dark. Okay. All right, so every single HTML page you'll ever write has this. This is what we call the HTML skeleton. Okay, so no matter any web page you ever visit, even the most complicated website you've ever visited, your banking website or something like that, they all start with this. This is called the HTML skeleton. All HTML pages must have this. Notice how, let's take a look at this real quick. Notice how I have these like words wrapped around these two like greater than and less than signs, right? And notice how I have pairs of these, right? So I have duplicates of this. I have HTML here and HTML here. I have a head here. I have a head here, but this one has a slash. I have a title here and a title here, body here, body here. And notice how I'm indenting things as well. Okay, some things interesting that's happening. Okay, let's go. I want to go over this quickly. So anytime you see a piece of a word in HTML wrapped around with greater than and less than signs like this, we call these tags. Okay, so let's write some notes as we're writing code as well. To write commenting in HTML looks like this. Okay, but that's a lot to write, right? So you could also do I'm gonna do some keyboard shortcuts here. If you do Command or Control, Command slash will toggle your comments. If you're using Windows, it's Control slash. Okay, so if you want to just quickly type comments, you totally can. I'm going to just say, you know, any is called HTML tag. Okay, the keyword here is tag. Okay, so this is, we call this the head tag, the body tag, title tag, so on and so forth. So these tags do something very specific. They have a specific reason for existing. And we'll look at some common tags. There's at least, I think there's at least like 50 tags out there. I'm not going to cover all of them, but I'm going to show you some of the more common tags that we use. So the reason for having two of these tags is because, in your programming career, maybe you've noticed computers aren't very smart. Right? A computer, you can't just tell a computer, you know, like make a website for me, and it's not going to just make it for you, right? You have to be, you as a developer, as a programmer, you are instructing the computer to do something. So we have to be very explicit when we talk to computers here. We have to say, hey computer, I'm starting my HTML file right here, okay? And I'm ending my HTML file right here. That's the reason for this slash thing here. So let's go, I'm gonna write it down real quick here as well. Slash HTML means end or stop the HTML tag here. Okay, we'll do a little bit more of this in a bit. So we're saying from here, from line 3, from line 11, this is my HTML document. Right? You might be wondering, well, what the heck is this? Right? This looks kind of strange. This one is, this is like a one-off thing. We're simply defining the type of this HTML. We're saying we're using the latest version of HTML. So really this, it's very important to have, but it's not really meaningful. This is a one-off thing. We're just saying, again, we're using the latest HTML version. All right, so we have, now let's take a look a little bit more inside here. Look, we have like a head tag here, and I have like a body tag here, right? The head, they came up with these terminologies from the human anatomy. Head just literally means like the head. It's kind of the brains of the page. So we're not going to do too much here right now. And then the body is literally the body of the document. So the body, it's everything that shows up here. So like kind of like if I just do hello world right now. Okay, let's do that one more time. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to save it. Okay, or you could do Command S, Control S to save as well, of course. And if I refresh, I'm still going to see, well, hello world. Okay, if I do hello world, I'm Nyan or something, we're going to, it's going to show up here. Okay, Okay, so anything within these tag, right? Anything inside the body tag will show up on the browser. So we're going to really stay within the body tag here. So as you can see here, like I said, this is where the body tag begins. This is like literally where my body starts, and this is where my body ends. Okay, something important about HTML before we go in a little bit more is that HTML is what we call white space insensitive, meaning that I could do like, I could be like, hello world, I'm Nyan, I teach at USC or something like that. Notice how I put a lot of breaks in here. If I refresh, it doesn't care. It ignores all my white space. Okay, so just be wary of that. If you want to actually put spacing, we have to do something else, but just know that. So theoretically, I don't have to do any of these indentions. Theoretically, I could just, not have any indentions because HTML does not care about your white space. It ignores it. It's not like Python that cares about indentions. But for readability's sake, for people to read your code better, we like to indent every time we open a new tag, basically. So if we know, for example, I know that in my HTML document, I'm going to have a head tag. I'm indenting it to make it a lot easier to read. And we'll talk a little more about this, but indentation is not, so key thing here is indentation is not required, but we do it for readability's sake. And when you're working on a big website with like 5 other people, if your code is unreadable, people will hate you. So we don't want that to happen. Okay. All right. So okay, great. Tags, got it. Let's talk about other tags that are out there. I'm just going to go through some very common tags. So on a web page, you typically see some kind of title, right? So I'm going to in all my web classes, I always start out with a Pikachu kind of thing. Okay, so what we're going to do during lecture is we're going to make a very basic, a cute little Pikachu page. So I want to make this page about Pikachu. I want to create something like this. Okay, this is what we're doing in lecture today. I want to create a very simple page that talks about Pikachu and their biology and some facts. So let's do that. Okay. So here in my body, these comments are gonna confuse me a little bit. Okay. Let's go to this. Let's go ahead and do all about Pikachu, right? All about Pikachu. All right. Go save this. Refresh. Oh, by the way, you can click refresh. You can Command R, Control R. Sorry, I got too used to keyboard shortcuts, but you could just click on this. All right. All about Pikachu. All right, so I want this to be the title of my page. So a nice tag for this is something called H1. Okay, so H1 is short for heading 1, and let's take a look at what it does. If I refresh, wow, great, it became a nice big fat title. It bolded the text for me already. The size became a lot bigger, and then also if you can't, it's hard to tell, but they actually create some space on top as well. Okay, that's what H1 does. There's actually a lot of these out there. You don't have to do this one with me. I just want to show you that there's a lot out there. There is, I think there's all the way up to H6 or something, but there's a lot of different headings for you to use, and notice the size difference of each. So you could kind of tell, right? H2 is for like your subtitle. Maybe H3 is for like a smaller subsection of your site, whatever it is. So you could use all kinds of tags here. Notice here again, these are tags, but this is called the H1 tag. Notice that it ends, the slash is very important here. Okay, or it says your code is not going to know where it ends. Okay, in our case, I just need one H1, so that's fine. Okay, and then let's go ahead and write some like text about Pikachu, right? Maybe like Pikachu is a character in Pokemon or something for now. Just let's keep it simple for now. Okay, and if you want a giant paragraph, Okay, another tag that was very useful is the p tag. Okay, I should have refreshed earlier. So if you want a simple paragraph, p tag is great. P is short for paragraph. And notice again, we opened it here and then we close it here. Okay, p tag is great for multiple paragraphs, right? So let's quickly navigate over. If you navigate over to the lecture notes today, I have because I don't have to spend time writing this. I'm going to copy this text, okay, from my lecture notes, and I'm just going to paste it all in here. Okay, now I have two paragraphs. This is my first paragraph. The Pikachu is a short, chubby Pokemon. And I have a second paragraph. The anime, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. And I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And now we have two paragraphs about Pikachu. Okay. Maybe I want to... it feels like I'm kind of like writing an essay or something here, but maybe I wanna add like some subsections here. Maybe I want to say like, okay, this is like my title of the page, but I want to add like a little bit of section titles here. I can also use H to say like this is the biology part, and this is like the let's say these are like, or let's keep it like that for now. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out just so you can see the whole thing. So we haven't written a ton of code, but so far, so good. And again, everything is within the body tag. As you can see, we haven't really done anything inside the head tag. Okay, this is a really good time. Let's pause for a second. Jonah and I are gonna go around the room just for about a little bit, just to make sure you are able to at least show all about Pikachu, and you are able to write this out here. Okay, so just I'll give you some time. We'll walk around. If you have questions, feel free to flag us down, because if this is not working for you in any way, you're gonna have a lot more trouble soon. So let's get you sorted out. A lot of people will tend to have problems in the first part here. So let's Jonah and I will walk around. Jonah, can you take this side? Yes, code, nice. Working for you. This one, it's like a one-off. It's just saying what is the version of this HTML. We're just use whatever's latest version. Okay, looks like you guys are doing well. Awesome. Great. You guys are doing awesome. Usually we take a lot longer than this, but great. Okay, so now that we have this down, I want to run through quickly some other very common tags. A very important or very common one is bolding, right? Like I want to bold a piece of text. So as you can see, well, for H1 and H2, it bolds already for you, right? Because that's what H1 and H2 tags do. However, what if I want to bold, like let's say the word Pikachu or something, right? I want to bold the word Pikachu and only the word Pikachu. Well, there's another tag for that. It's strong. Okay. Okay. If you've done HTML before, you might be used to B for bold, right? That kind of makes sense. But don't use B anymore. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't use B anymore. It is deprecated, meaning it's no longer supported anymore. I mean, some browsers still support it, but officially the HTML standard does not support it anymore. So you wanna make sure you use strong. I actually don't know the exact reasoning because I think B is a great, be bold, right? But I don't know. Strong is what they want to use, and now I have my Pikachu is bold. Okay, this is where the importance of tags come in. Let's say I forgot, let's say for whatever reason, because I am human, I forgot to close my tag here. What do you think happens? Everything's bold. Okay? Very common mistake in HTML, you forget to close the tag. It happens all the time. Even to me, I've been writing HTML for, I don't know, like 10 plus years, ever since even like HTML 3.0 or something days. And it's very common. Okay, and look. Wow, Sublime is so great. It just closed my tag for me. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, that's great. Maybe there's less mistakes of doing that. So it's very important to close your tags every time you open them. Okay, make sure you understand. You get that like down. Other ones are italicized, right? There's EM for emphasize. There you go. There's also I, but don't use I anymore for italicizing. You can use I for like icons, but don't use I anymore. You want to use EM. Okay, E for emphasis. Okay, there's also like underline. There's the strike through. There's a lot of different tags that do that specifically. Okay, all right. What about some more interesting ones? Let's do like what about like bullet points, right? Or like a numbered list. Like, how do we do that? Let's look at some other tags like that. I'm just gonna keep going here, down here. Okay, and notice how my HTML reads from top to bottom, right? Everything is just top to bottom here. And I'm gonna do another H2 here. I'm gonna create like another kind of like a section. Let's do like facts, all right? Like I'm gonna talk about Pikachu facts or something, right? For lists, okay, there's a little more of that involved. Let's say I want to create a bulleted list. Okay, we call these, there's a tag for that. There's UL. Okay, and I'm going to close my UL tag. Okay, so this defines, let's go ahead and do this, starts an unordered list. Can't spell, unordered list. And in here, I have to specify now, right? Like how many bullet points am I going to have, right? So if I do LI like this, I can now, LI is short for list item. Each LI is each bullet point. So I can say like, I don't know, any facts about Pikachu you guys know? Nobody knows what Pikachu is. Okay, it's an electric type. I'm sorry, if you don't know what Pikachu is, it's just this cute thing here, okay? All right, one more. It evolves into, yeah. Again, if you're like, what the hell is, if you're like, what the hell is this? It's okay. You don't really need to know. It's from a game, a TV show, Pokemon Go, that kind of stuff. Anyway, there you go. I have 2 facts now. I'll do one more fact. Loves Ash. I don't know. I guess not all Pikachu do, but whatever. Anyway, I just want 3 bullet points here. That's my point. Okay, so there you go. You have an what's called? You now have an unordered list here. Oh, it's kind of hard to see here, right? But there it is. Okay, what about like numbered lists, right? So you have like bulleted lists. What about numbered lists? Numbered lists is very similar. You just have to change instead of UL. Okay, if you do OL, now you have an ordered list. There you go. It automatically numbers for you, so you don't have to like type 1, 2, 3 or anything like that. It automatically increments numbers for you. So the more I type in here, right, the more we have. Okay. Maybe I should do that, right? Okay, so as you're writing, you feel free to write as many comments as you'd like here, just to help you kind of process all this. Okay, and notice how I'm indenting these. Like I said, actually, I don't have to indent any of this. Okay, I could just, put it all in one line if I really wanted to. And if I did something like this, HTML is still fine with it. It's actually going to read it. It's perfectly fine. Again, HTML is not, it's white space insensitive. Yes, it's not like Python or some other languages out there. However, this looks really ugly, really fast, and it gets really hard to read. Imagine if you have like thousands of lines of this kind of code, right? So that's why we like to do line breaks. the general rule of thumb is anytime, so notice how my li tags are inside of my ol tags, right? So anytime any tag is inside of something, we like to nest. Anytime it's nested, we like to like indent just for, just cause it's a lot easier to read. Alrighty, we let's do something more interesting now. Cool, we got some text involved. Now what about like links, right? You see links all the time probably. Stuff like, you know, like click me, right? Right, and then let me add this real quick just so we can make it easier to scroll. Okay, there you go. Maybe a little more. Okay, so click me. Right, you see these click me things all the time, right? How do I make them click? There's another tag for that. Again, a lot of tags here. The tag is called anchor link, A for short. Okay, let's go and save this. File save. Okay, and refresh, and then you're going to see, oh, it's actually still not a link yet, right? Well, obviously it's not a link yet because we need to know where it's going to go to, right? If I click me, where should it go to, right? So we need to add a little more information here. And anytime you want to add more information, there's something called an attribute. Okay, so let's talk about this. Tags have an attribute, okay, or some tags have attributes, okay, which essentially they give you extra information or extra settings here. So in this case, it's very necessary because I need to know where, if I click on the link, what the heck happens, right? So we're going to go ahead and write our first attribute. Again, modern text editors are great. They just tell you. I don't even have to write all of it. Great. And then you do equal sign and then double quotes like that. This is an attribute. And notice, very important here, notice how it's all still within the tag, right? It's in the tag. And it's you know, it's still part of the A tag. It's not outside the greater than or less than signs here. So href here, this is where I'm going to type in the URL that I want to make it sent to. href is short for hyperlink reference. Okay, we're going to https://www.google.com. Let's just go to Google, just to make things easy. Okay, now if I save this and I refresh, now it's a link. Hooray. If I click this, oh, cool. Google.com. Okay. We could add their attributes, again, add information to our page, to our tags. What about, you know, like when I click on this, I want it to open in a new tab, right? I don't want it to open in the same page. Like if I click on it, I want it to open a new tab. That's the job for an attribute. Okay, so let's add another attribute here. Maybe enlarge this. The attribute here is called target. Okay, so this is an attribute. Target. Okay, and then the value of this attribute happens to be blank. Okay, again, I don't know why, but that's what people, I think it means like blank page or something, or blank tab or something. But that's what it is. Okay, so now if I refresh this, and if I click it, ta-da! It opens in a new tab. Okay, so these attributes add to the tag. Yes? Yeah, one more time. So what happens when I add target blank is now when I click on the link, it opens in a new tab. Yeah, versus if I, let's say, like didn't have it, okay, and it's just going to open up in the same page. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know why, but it just is. There must be some historical reason for it. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, Jonah, can you help the student out? Oh, you good? Okay. So I'm running through a lot of tags with you, right? And it feels, you might feel like you're just kind of pulling this out of thin air, like how do you know all this, right? I want to show you a quick reference for that. So under here, I have a list of common HTML tags, and in this document here, they're going to show you a lot of, there's again, like I said, there's a lot of different tags out here, H1, H2, right? And they describe what these tags do for you. And it also tells you sometimes like, oh, it has an href element. And if you click on it, it goes even more into detail. Oh, the anchor link element, they give you some examples and tell you, oh, these are the attributes or attributes that you can use. We use href, right? You can do, wow, I didn't know, there's some other ones now. There's like download, there's target, there you go, there's my target, right? Actually, there's different values you can use, not just blank. Okay, so there's a lot of documentation out there for some of the tags that we're using. If in doubt, you could always Google what is the A tag or something like that, and usually W3 Schools also has a reference to the A tag, like this is what it is, and then they give you some all the different attributes you can use. And then they give you, W3 Schools, come on. They give you like an example where you could try it yourself as well. But the key word here is remember what a tag is, and you want to remember what an attribute is and what it looks like. Yes, sir.
So in this case,
yep.
href is a specific tag to tag A.
It's a specific attribute to the tag A. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. href I don't think exists anywhere else except for, I could be wrong, but I think it's mostly used for the anchor tag. Yeah. It's specifically used to A. Yep. Good question. Let's say I want another link. I'm going to just go ahead and put another link here. And I want to show you something interesting that happens. Okay, what's happening? I'm going to just do like 5 of these. What's happening? They're all on the same line. Right? So isn't it interesting? Again, when you're picking up new languages, you got to, one of the things you want to kind of develop is figure out, like, what is this code doing, right? Isn't it interesting how all the other code I wrote so far, it naturally did line breaks. Like, it was fine. Like, after every paragraph, there's a line break. Like, after heading, there's a line break. After every list item, I had a line break automatically, right? But interesting enough, my links are not line breaking. They're all on the same. They're all on the same line, right? Even though I could even do this if I do like and then did that, right? I'll still get it at everything's still in one line. Interesting, right? In HTML, yeah.
I must have missed when you talked about the
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't talked about it yet. Yeah, I'm about to. Yeah, this is only because I wanted to push this up. Yeah. Right, so how do I create line breaks? Okay, one easy answer, and it's not always the best answer, is there's a tag called break, slash, it allows you to make line breaks. However, even better than that, that's what I did on the bottom here. That's why I made all those line breaks. Okay, but better than that, okay, better than just putting a bunch of BRs, because that's not always. It's not, if you have like a million BRs, it's just not clean code and it's weird. There's a little more to this than that. Each of these, all these HTML tags, like I said, they all do something very specific, right? H1 does bold, right? Like li makes a list. They do something very specific. Each HTML tag also has a property that tells them if it's going to be an element that goes in one line or if it creates line breaks. Okay, so a paragraph, for example, it knows that every time I create a paragraph, by default, it's saying, this is going to be one line, and then the next paragraph is going to be another line, another like block. It like knows that it inherently knows that it's going to be we call these block elements. Okay, so let's go and maybe write that down. All right, so like some tags are known as block elements, e.g. P, right, H1. Other tags are inline, like an anchor. Actually, even the strong tag, if you recall, my strong tag right here, right? My strong tag didn't create a line break, right? It just stayed in line. Okay. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You don't have to memorize like which elements have block and which elements are in line, but just knowing that there is a difference makes it will help your life a lot, because you're gonna be like creating these fancy websites, and you're gonna realize, wait, why is that one not like going to the next line? Why is it, okay. Okay. So fortunately, so with HTML, that's, we just kind of have to live with what we have. However, luckily, HTML is not the only thing we have. We have CSS as well. So when you want to change any kind of property, we can use CSS to change any kind of property of an HTML tag. So we could actually, using HTML, using CSS, we can easily convert inline elements to block elements to inline elements, vice versa. So let's transition a little bit into CSS. Okay, let's also write this down. These properties can be overwritten by CSS. Okay, but by default, this is what it kind of comes with. Ooh, one last thing before we let me do this. One last thing before we transition to CSS. Images are very important on a web page. If you don't have an image on your web page, most likely people will not stay. Let's add an image at the very top. Just right under biology, maybe within biology. Let's go ahead and add an image in here. Okay. Again, code is written from top to bottom. So let's go ahead and write an image here. Okay, so image tag is a little odd. There's no such thing as a closing image tag. I know I've talked about closing already, but there are a few tags that don't have a closing tag. So image tag closes itself, okay, which is a little strange. For an image to appear, there's an attribute called src, source, which means where is this image coming from? Okay, so src is another attribute or attribute, however you want to pronounce it. All right, let's go find an image real quick. Just go to images.google.com or Google Images, and let's grab a quick picture of Pikachu. I'm just going to Google Pikachu, and there's two ways you can add images onto your website. First way is you can just pick anything that you like. Oh man, it's so cute. Let's do some, this is like a, it's Ditto. Okay, I'm gonna use that one. All right, you can either do there's different ways you can use images. You can, if you know the URL of an image, like copy image address. So if I click on this, it's not gonna. I need the exact image. If I click on this, right click on this, and I do copy image address, I can use that. Okay, this is one method. So big, but there it is. Okay, it's like fake Pikachu. Okay, this one way. We call this the absolute path. However, there's issues with this, right? First of all, you're stealing from Amazon, right? You're stealing their image, kind of. So that's not really a good thing to do. Second of all, if one day Amazon decides to take this image down, that means you can't use it anymore. So this is like one way you can put images, but perhaps a better way is what we call the relative path is you can always save this image on your own computer, right? So I'm going to go and right click and save this image, and I'm going to save it in my images folder here, in my desktop, going back to my desktop, ITP 303 AM. You know what? I'm just going to save it in here. Okay, I'm not going to make a folder or anything. And the same there. And then very important where it lives, right? So, let's go and rename this. I'm going to call it Pikachu. All right, so this is my HTML file. This is my image file. They live in the same folder. They're neighbors. So then I could just reference it like this. Image src. What is this? Pikachu dot, what is it? PNG? Okay. Very important to, PNG is different from JPG. We need to make sure you write the actual file type. Okay, and once I do that, now I am able, okay, let me comment this part out real quick. So I can comment things, by the way, if I highlight it and I do command slash or control slash, I can comment that, and then I should still have my same image here. Okay, one more time, let me just run over one more time if you are like, what the heck did you just do? I went to Google Images, I right-clicked on an image, I saved my images. I have, maybe your image are downloaded automatically to your downloads folder, then just go ahead and take it out and then stick it in your, move it to your, wherever you're saving your HTML file. The key thing is that the HTML file and the image file have to live in the same folder. Yeah. In this case, yeah. You can put it in whatever folder you want, but right now, just to keep things simple, let's make sure the image file is in the same file as your HTML file. Well, same folder file, yeah. Same place, they're neighbors, right? So then now we can reference it like simply just that. Okay. All right, so we got some issues here. My image is way too big. I gotta fix this. I want to resize this, right? So anytime now we're starting to think about the looks of the site, right? We're thinking, oh, how can I resize this image? How can I make my links not do this thing where they're on one line? How can I like break them apart, right? When we start thinking about the looks and feels now, that's where CSS kicks in. Again, HTML is very good at structuring your stuff, like kind of laying it out. But when you now are thinking about more the details, the colors, the sizing, this is where CSS comes in. Okay, so this is all HTML so far. So now let's go ahead and write some CSS. Okay, to write some CSS, we're going to actually go into this head part of the page. Okay, and like I said, the head is the brains, so you don't necessarily see the exact things coming out of here, but it controls the rest of your HTML document. So let's go ahead and create, in your head tag, we're going to create another tag called style. And this style tag, this is where we're going to write CSS. CSS commenting is a little different. It looks like this. So write CSS here. Okay, CSS gets written here or something. I don't know. Okay, so CSS uses the /star. It doesn't do the weird, like, this thing here. It also does the, oh no, it does not, okay. And you can also toggle command as control / as well. Right, CSS looks a little bit different. The syntax is a little bit different from HTML because it is a different language. With CSS, you want to think about, once you create this HTML document, CSS is very good at selecting, like choosing your tags and do stuff with it. All right, but let's start with something small. H1, for example. Remember my H1 tag? Okay, I'm going to write H1, and then I'm going to use curly braces here. Curly braces, shift, and it's that little curly brace here. And it's very important that there's two of these as well. This is one selector. We call this selector. We're going to grab my H1. My H1 tag is my All About Pikachu, okay? And I'm going to write some properties on it. I'm going to write some CSS properties. I'm going to write some CSS properties, okay? First one is color, very straight to the point, color, right? What I want to do is I'm going to change the color of my H1. I'm going to change it to blue. I don't know. I'm going to pick something, okay? Now I have blue. Woohoo! There's a lot of different, you could green. If you want to go crazy and add more colors, there's a website called htmlcolors.com. You could choose any kind of color you want. They're going to give you this hex code, and you could put that in as well. Okay, and then, whatever you like. There's a lot of different ones here. Let's do another one. Another one, again, I'm pulling these out of thin air. I'll show you a reference sheet in a bit. Font family. Okay, I could also change a font. Maybe right now it's like I think it's like a Times New Roman. It's like a default font. I could say Arial or something. Maybe I like a actually I don't need that. If I do Arial or something like that, boom, I get now Arial. Okay. Key thing here though is, again, this with CSS it looks a little different. On the left hand side, this blue part, this is a property. We call these properties. Okay, and on the right hand side, this is called a value. All right, so my property is color, and I wanted the value to be this purple, this hex code, which is a purple. On the left side, I have a font family. On the right side, I have the value Arial. So it could be Arial. It could be there's like some like Tahoma, right? It could be whatever. Actually, not whatever you'd like, but the right hand side is the part that can be changed. The left hand side is pretty set. Like it's the key. If you remember like key value pairs from other classes, the left hand side is a key that's defined by CSS. CSS gives us a list of these, and the right side is like the property or the value that we can put in. Okay, let me make sure. Oh, I can do font size. Right? You know, I again can go kind of crazy with this. And it really allows you to be as creative as you'd like. Okay. Let's try another one. What about like H2, right? I have like a biology here. And actually I have two H2s here, right? I have facts and biology are both H2. So let's try H2 real quick. H2. My color, let's try sky blue. I think sky blue is another one. Sky blue. Cool. All right, let's see what happened here. So my biology is sky blue. However, also, my facts is sky blue. Uh-oh. Interesting. What does that tell you? That tells me that whenever I do something like this, it affects my entire page. Okay, so everything is affected right now. Everything, any H2 on this page will become sky blue. But what if I don't want it to be sky blue? Right? What if I only want biology to be sky blue, and then I don't want facts to be sky blue? Right? That's an issue. So let's you can infer from this that again this selector is selecting everything, but I don't want it to select everything. I only want to select a key thing. To work with this, there's several different ways you can do this, but let me show you one of the more easier ways. Any of my tags, like I said, they can take in an attribute, right? There's a couple attributes that all tags take. One of them is called ID. Okay, ID. You can add an ID to any tag you'd like, and but it has to be unique, meaning there can only be one ID. So let's do this. Like let's say this is gonna be my biology heading. Okay. Now up here, I can, instead of saying H2, or maybe I'll leave H2. Now I can say biology heading. Your color is going to be purple? No, I have purple. Red. If I do that, let's see what happens. Oh man, my image is so big. Okay. Biology is red, right? ID. Okay. But my H2, my heading to sky is still sky blue. Okay. You're probably wondering, wait, what are the rules then, right? Wasn't it just sky blue? Like what's going on? We're going to talk more about this a little in the next lecture, so you don't have to worry about too much, but general idea is the more specific your the selector is, the more likely it's going to win out. So because biology heading is an ID, it becomes red and not like it used to be sky blue, but the red overwrites it. Okay, but for now, it's okay. Don't worry about it too much. For your first assignment, that it really doesn't matter. Just get in the habit of writing IDs like this. Okay, but IDs, just to tell you, let you know again, IDs can be only used for one thing. Okay, so it can't be used for, you can't have like ID here, a biology heading here, and then have like another ID like that. You cannot do that. IDs are unique. If you want to do multiple things like that, you could use a class. Okay, a class looks like something like this with a period, and maybe you want something to be like blue. Okay, and if you do color blue like that, okay, then you could add this to multiple things. You can say, oh, hey, like, you know, maybe your Maybe you're blue. Maybe sure, yeah, good one. Nice. Maybe we did strong, you're gonna be blue. Okay, now my strong has a class called blue, so it could be used there. I could even use this class. I could use this class wherever I want. I could use it in the EM as well. So then, look, it's also blue there. Okay. Okay. Very important. Classes can be used in multiple tags. Yes. Right, good question. Yeah, sometimes actually I've been on projects where we never use an ID ever. We just only use class. IDs are useful later when we introduce JavaScript and we want to specifically get one tag. But for our purposes, you could actually get away with just using classes. Yeah.
So when do you have to use the dot?
Yeah. Yeah. So you only anytime you want to use a dot is when you want to use a class like this. But you can name it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be blue. It could be like, you know, and then you just have to make sure it's this. Yeah. Yeah. Versus ID, you reference by using a hashtag. Yep. Just don't use spaces. Yeah.
What is it advantageous to use write the CSS code in a separate file?
We'll get to that. Yeah, you can write CSS in a separate file as well. The advantage of that is you could use one CSS file for multiple different HTML pages. In our case, we only have one, so we're just writing in one. Questions? All right. Any other things? All right. We'll talk a lot more about selectors again next week as well, because there's a lot of different ways you can write these selectors. Okay, there's one last thing I want to cover. Oh, well, my image. Let's go fix my image. Okay, my image. I'm just gonna image. Let's give it a width of I don't know, like 200 pixels. Kind of. PX is short for pixels. That's the one of the units that browsers use. They don't. You could use maybe you can't. I forget exactly. But PX is the most common one. There's also like EMs and you could also use percentages. But for now, we're gonna use pixels. Be careful when you're using like width and height together. I just want to point that out real quick because a lot of people do this. Right? You don't want to mess with the both too much because then you're going to start, the proportions are going to go off. So usually, you just use, it's safe to just use one or the other, right? So like just width or just height, but not both. It'll scale automatically, right? So you don't have to use both width and height when it comes to images. Okay. All right, last thing we want to talk about, and then we'll do the assignment is, all right, cool. So we have this nice, like, long document kind of thing. This is great for, like, this is a great website if this was, like, 1994 or something. But unfortunately, right? But it's 2019 now, and things are a lot more structured. Web pages are a lot more structured, and they have, like sections, and, right, there's a lot of more organization that go on. Like, even the assignment you're going to do today, right, we're going to have, like, these defined sections, kind of. Right, so let's talk about how we do that. Okay, this feels like a document, right? Like more like an essay or something. But we don't want to create a document. We want to create like sections and add some organization here. So this is where that lovely div tag comes in. Okay. So anytime you're about to build out a web page, it's a good idea to think about, okay, how am I gonna what are the sections I'm gonna build out? How am I gonna divide this web page? Most web pages, they usually always have some kind of header on top, okay? And they also have some kind of footer on the bottom. So let me go back to the assignment again. There's a defined header. Usually the header has like, the logo of the website or like some kind of title, right? And down the bottom, there's usually some kind of footer. This is a very simple one, but right, there's some kind of footer. And then there's everything in between, right? So even if you go to like, I don't know, just like BuzzFeed or something, and I'm gonna hope there's nothing inappropriate on there. Okay, this is fine. Disney is always PG, right? Or G, right? So like, even on BuzzFeed or any website you go, there's always some kind of header, there's always some kind of menu, they have everything in between, and down the bottom, they have related news and wow, they have a lot of related news, and then eventually on the bottom there's some kind of footer. So a lot websites, if you really took a close look at how websites are made, they're very good about defining sections. Like, oh, actually they added some new stuff on top here. They have like their other brands, I guess, and then they have like a section for their menu, a section for like some other popular news. They of course they have to have a section for ads because ads are really how they make money, right? And then there's like a section for an article, another section for ads, right? So web pages in 2019, at least, they're very well organized into certain sections. So let us create some sections as well. Let's convert our page here into a more of like a section-y, it feels a little bit more organized kind of thing here. To do that, we're going to use something called div, D-I-V, okay? It's short for division. I'm going to go back to my HTML. So HTML is, again, good at structuring things, right? So I'm going to use div to structure my web page. First things first, the header. I'm just going to make a header section. To do that, I simply type div, and it is a div. I created a div tag, and in this div tag, I'm just going to indent it because I'm going to end it here. This is the end of my div tag here. A lot of times people like to do stuff like this, like end. Header kind of thing, just to give you an idea. So this now is my header section. I just created a section. Right? And I'm just so I can identify that this is my header section, I'm going to do ID header. I could also do a class here. I could call this a class. Honestly, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to use ID because I know that I'm only going to have one header, right? I shouldn't have like 5 different headers in one page. I should only have one. So I'm just going to just leave it as ID just to keep things simple. Okay, if I save this, okay, honestly, nothing happens visually, but behind the scenes, I have created some kind of section here. All right, so my header is really simple in my case because I only have the title of the page. But let's take a look at what I just did. Okay, again, when I refresh it, it doesn't look like anything significant happened, but actually some significant things did happen here. Okay, I'm going to go all the way up, back to my style sheet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create a new selector. Okay, new CSS rule selector, a new CSS rule, header. Okay, and I'm going to say background color. Oh yeah, there's also background color. I spelled it wrong. I always spell background color wrong. Background color, let's call it lavender. Lavender? Okay, lavender. Just picking random colors. Let's see what happens. Whoa, okay, interesting. What just happened? I created like a box, a section. Right? So this div allowed me to create like a section. Let me do that. Sorry. So okay, one more time. So I just added these 2 div tags around just my H1, and then I added a header style. Cool. I just created a box. What the heck is this space though, right? Why do I have like space on top? And anyway, we'll get to that eventually. Okay. So this, I just created a div called header. Okay. With divs, I can notice how wide it goes. Every time I create a div, it goes across the whole page, right? It automatically the default behavior is it just takes up the whole space. However, maybe I don't want it to take up the whole space. Maybe I want to have a specific width. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a width. Maybe like, I don't know, like I'm just picking a number, 400 pixels. Oh, cool. Okay. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. Maybe like 600. Okay. There you go. Okay. So now my section ends there. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's talk about some issues here. What the heck is this space on top, right? And like I don't like what is the space coming from? It's actually coming from your H1. H1 comes with some weird it comes with extra spacing. So let's talk about spacing then real quick while we're here. There's two types of spacing you can have on your on any HTML element. One is margin, the other one is padding. Okay, if I do margin top, okay, it is saying H1, whatever spacing you have on the top, that white space, goodbye, make it 0, it's gone. Okay. Ooh, there's still a little bit more spacing there, but I'm gonna come back to that in a bit. Okay, yeah. Oh no, there isn't. I could have just gone back. I just wanted to keep it within here. Yeah. Yes. I think that's not gonna work. But let's try it out. No, that doesn't work. So it's because the header is the box itself, but the H1 has margin, so it's coming out of that. Yeah. A little strange, I know. Is there a what? No, you want to do it on the div, but it's more like you want sometimes things happen, and if you can't figure out what it is, there could be different reasons, and it could be the H1, it could be, most likely it's always your headings. But actually, yeah, if I wanted spacing, the better way is to do it on the div itself. Yeah. Yeah. It does the same thing. But yeah. Might have jumped the gun a little bit there, but okay. So I could do, like I said, I could do margin top and still add spacing on top. Okay, let me show you another one. There's also padding. Padding is a different one. Yes. What I have? Oh, pixel. Oh, because 0 of anything is 0, right? So yeah, but yeah, sure. Right, you can do that either one. Right. It's just because it's 0. Yeah. Let's talk about padding. Padding's a little bit different. If I do padding 50 pixels, let's see what happens. Oh, interesting, right? So my header, okay, is my purple box right now. Does it look lavender up there? Maybe I should change the color a little bit, just to make it more obvious. Okay, there you go. Okay, so padding, what is padding doing? Padding is creating spacing inside this div. Okay, whereas margin is creating space outside the div. Very important. Okay, we like to call this the box model. When you're creating a box, when you're creating a div, key things to note is there's the margins and there's paddings. Padding increases the space inside the box. Margin increases space outside the box. Okay. Outside the div, padding creates space inside the div. And so I did padding top, but you can also do left, right, bottom. You could do like padding left, right, padding bottom, and so on and so forth. You can kind of play around with this. This is obviously not 10 pixels though on the bottom, right? Yeah, it's because it's margin stuff. There you go. Okay, so if you start to see some weirdness, because this happens all the time, especially if you're first starting out, for Chrome, or actually other browsers have it too, if you right click and do inspect, there is a dev tool here, and I'm happy to go, I can't go over this entirely with you right now, but clicking on this arrow tool, you could actually see what's going on. You can see like, oh, like my header has, it visually shows you, oh, like my header has, that orange part is the margin, right? And then the the green, and then there's some like padding there. H1, same thing. Like if you click on H1, you can see, oh, it has no margin, top or bottom, and you could actually like visually see that. If you have specific questions about this, I will show it to you. But for now, let's kind of move on. Yes.
So the div header overrides H1, you go to set to 0, and now it's extended past that along the top.
Yeah, it overwrites whatever this one is right now. Yeah. So another way I could write this H1 also is right now header, like H1 is too generic, right? What if I had like multiple H1s, right? So another nice benefit about using divs like this is you can do something like this. Whoa, that looks a little weird, right? That space actually makes a difference. It's saying go find the H1 inside my header, okay? And so I'm only selecting the H1 inside the header div, the header tag, the header right here, that one. And that one is gonna, and if I refresh, nothing happens, but you could specify here that you only want to touch this H1 here. So I could also add a lot of stuff here. I can say like maybe I could override my previous stuff. Maybe I want to say like fan family now, or maybe it's too big now. Maybe you're gonna now become 40 pixels instead, and it will get overwritten as well. And we can also center the text here, this text here, right? Like, so all my H1 is inside my header. So I could center let's say I want to center the text inside my my header. There's a property for that as well. It's called text align center, and then it will now center all the text inside my header horizontally. You might be wondering, oh, how about vertically? Right? Unfortunately, I know it's strange to say, but there's like no such thing as like vertical align. For vertical centering, you're gonna have to mess around with your paddings. Maybe do like a padding 20 or something, and then you get like a bit of a vertical centering going on. So you can add some spacing on top and bottom. But when it comes to horizontal centering, it's as simple as text align center, and it will center the content inside your div. Yep. You can also set the height of a div. Totally can. You can do like, I don't know, 500 pixels or something. I'm just here. But over my years of development, setting heights causes a lot of problems sometimes, because it's possible that this text changes later, right? Maybe you change your mind and you're like, I don't want this to be the title of my text anymore, and your text gets really long. Then you gotta alter the height, and setting heights on divs end up being a lot more trouble than it's worth. So I like the padding version a lot more, because no matter if the text ever changes, my padding is always going to stay the same. You know what I mean? So if my title became like really long, like, right, it's still going to be somewhat centered vertically, right? I don't have to change the height again. The height just grows naturally, so let's let it grow naturally. Okay. Let's do one more section, biology. Okay. So I can create a biology section here, and there's my entire. Oh, this is gonna be really big, right? Yeah, you can highlight things. If you ever indent stuff, you can always highlight everything and then click tab. You can highlight those. I'm going to end my div here. Okay, so I have a big giant biology div here. It's really big. Okay, it holds my H2 and it holds my image. It holds that. Okay. Right now my biology div. Okay, this is one giant div that covers all the way from to here. Now I have a background color. Let's say red. Okay, too red. Green. I don't know, green or something. Right? What does it do? Same thing. Div. I just created a section. Right? And the width is as wide as a browser. The height is just kind of naturally grows depending on the content inside it. Great. That's what divs are really good about. Okay. Let me just do it quickly again. If I do width, like 400 pixels on this one, right there it is, 400 pixels. Okay, and then if you start to notice, like the text gets really close to the edge right here, right? So then this is a good time to put like paddings. Maybe you want to put like padding left, 20 pixels, padding right, like 20 pixels, and then you get like a nice. Right now you have some breathing room. Hooray! But notice that as I'm adding padding, right, this box keeps growing. If I added like 50 on this box now becomes, the box is actually growing. The width of the box is actually growing. So just keep that in mind. Okay, when you add spacing inside a div, it just naturally grows. Okay. You could also add borders around divs. That's also a nice thing about divs. You could do like border, there's 3: border color, black, border width, like, I don't know, 3, pick a number, and border style. Style, you could do like, I'm going to do solid, and there you go. Solid means like solid. You could also do like, I think there's like dashed, so on and so forth. But let's leave it. Okay. And again, I could add, biology is my entire div, right? It's my entire section. Okay, I could keep going. I could do whatever I want here. I could do like margin top as well and put like maybe 50 pixels. Now I have space in between. Amazing. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. One last thing, and we're gonna, I wanna give you some time to get your server set up and all that stuff. So, one last thing here. So, okay, this is cool and all that, but what about, one last thing I want to mention here is, what about if I want to center stuff, right? Like, so I talked about text align. Text align allows me to center text. Great. But what if I want to center this entire biology section, right? I want to like center it to the browser. Okay, like, so not just the text, the text inside is fine, but like the actual div, like I want to center the entire div. Well, one way you might think about it is like, oh, what if I just add some margin, right? Like margin left, like add like 100 pixels, then is it gonna like center it? Good way to think about it. However, there's issues because then, like depending on the browser size of the browser, you don't know how wide that's gonna be. So a quick and dirty way to, and this is code that I use all the time to center a div browser. It's going to be margin left auto, margin right auto, meaning this, it kind of intuitively, hopefully it makes sense. Margin left means automatically resize the left and right margins, and then now we get a nice centered, and it's only the biology div right now. I can recenter it. I can, no matter what the size of the browser is, it will get centered. So there's a difference between margin left auto, right auto, and text align center, just to make sure you understand that. Whew. Okay. All right. Like I said, I do want to take some time for you to start your assignment. So if you have questions, I'm going to walk around, ask me questions. I'll leave the code up here. I also will upload the code so that you can always come back to it later if you missed anything. So for your assignment, as you can kind of see, it's very similar to what we just did, almost exactly the same. But the idea behind it, I'm hoping you get some practice. One thing I really discourage you to do, okay, I know it's very tempting to do, is don't copy this entire file, new file, paste, save as assignment1.html. Don't do that, okay? Some people like to do that and then they try to like modify the code. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's so much more hassle to do that. Start with a brand new file, start with HTML, and even if you are gonna be referencing my code, the code that you just wrote, instead of copy pasting, okay, at the very least try to type it out. You could always do like view layout column 2 like this, and then like you can, you know, always have like your, maybe have your code on one side and then have your homework on the other, and then just type it out. Even if the simple act of typing it out does a lot more than if you just copy paste stuff. So my big advice to you is to type out your code. This assignment honestly isn't gonna take you a long time. So it's more important that you really understand the syntax, what it looks like. I need you to get familiar with how to write this, like what is get familiar with the pattern, right? Like using curly braces, using tags. So don't copy paste. Try not to copy paste, minimal as possible. Even if you're Google Stack on Stack Overflow or whatever, that's okay. Just write the type it out. Don't just copy paste, because if you copy paste, you're gonna forget how to write HTML, and that's gonna suck for you when the midterm comes around, right? So write things out. You're gonna pick a movie that you'd like, write some stuff out. You can grab the summary from the internet, grab some images from wherever, and write it out. So go ahead and try to get started on it. And another thing I do want you to actually try out right now, if you right now before you leave, is in assignment 1. If you scroll down, there's this server setup section. Right? Go ahead and do this first. Let's do this first. Please go ahead and try that out, because we need to make sure. So once your file is ready and you're done with this on your computer, it needs to go out live on the internet, right? We want to upload it to the internet, or probably the wrong way to say it, but we want to make it live to the internet. So to do that, we set up a server for you. So you do need to get this part done, and you should, if you can't log in or anything, today is a day to get that kind of resolved. And Jonah will help you out in that regard as well. So go ahead and for the next 20 minutes or so, less than that, just go try this server setup part. Make sure you can log in, make sure you can see stuff like how I'm seeing stuff, so that when you start working on your assignment 1, everything's going to be flawless. And once you have this set up, and you need to download FileZilla for this. Once you have that set up, if you have even more time, you can start on the HTML and CSS part of your assignment. Yeah. Oh, yes. Good. I'll write it out here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop.